Hello there, grumpy old fart here. Let me get a quick coffee right quick. Wet my whistle. All right, this is a new type of video I'm trying out called AD&D hacks. I see those videos on YouTube, life hacks. Well, this is an advanced Dungeons and Dragons hack. Anyone who plays advanced Dungeons and Dragons, any kind of a Dungeons and Dragons, any edition of Dungeons and Dragons, will eventually come into conflict with spellcasters. These include magic users, illusionists, clerics, and druids. Some monsters cast spells, demons, devils, that kind of thing. But primarily, it's going to be one of those four: magic user, illusionist, cleric, or druid, and may include others, but sometimes there's combinations like a fighter mage or a thief cleric, that kind of thing. Thing about spellcasters is that they are rarely alone. Most mages and illusionists generally have henchmen regardless of how many people are in the opposing force. The primary tactic should always be to neutralize the spellcasters first. This is common sense when facing any force that includes spellcasters. Fighters and thieves can sure wreak havoc. Clerics just as are spellcasters, but fighters and thieves can wreak havoc, like nobody's business. But high-level casters are much, much worse. They're like howitzers on a battlefield. Artillery, heavy artillery. They can wipe out entire parties wholesale. They're nasty. If you play a wizard correctly against your player characters, they're in for a tough fight, regardless of how many hit points the caster has. Here are some tactics that I have found useful when dealing with high-level spellcasters. First off, you have to target spellcasters with multiple projectile weapons. Arrows are good, but spears are better. Over multiple rounds. You got to do it over multiple rounds. There's a reason. Many high-level magic users use stone skin spells, so the first round of fire may be negated. You also have to watch out for the volley spell, which, just read the spell. Once a spear or multiple arrows are lodged inside a wizard's chest or whatever, in his stomach, whatever, the magic user will find it very hard to cast spells. If the dungeon master is playing the wizard correctly, he'll have to get that fixed before he is able to cast effectively. If the wizard just keeps casting them, he's got 18 arrows in him and a spear hanging out of his chest and he's still casting, that's something to question. This guy has significantly... There's more to it than just a wizard. That's all I'm saying. Another good way to deal with a spellcaster is silence, 15-foot radius. But you have to center it on an item that they're wearing, not on them. There's a difference. This will eliminate a good part of their firepower. If you cast silence on the wizard, he gets a savings throw. If you cast silence on, say, his cape, all he knows is he can't utter verbal components. So that's going to eliminate a lot of his stuff, and he's got to find out how to get rid of that before he can continue. Silence 15-foot radius is a hell of a way to eliminate a lot of a spellcaster's spell capabilities. If you can get close enough to touch them, a water breathing spell will give them something else to worry about as they struggle to breathe. Water breathing allows them to breathe underwater, but if there's no water, they can't breathe. It's hard to cast spells when you can't breathe. And guess what? Water breathing has no savings throw. So you reach up, you touch him, he can't breathe, and then you take turns hacking on him because he can't cast. Okay. My son came up with this one, and this was a really nice one. He had an item that he could use to travel between dimensions, between planes. And long story short, he was able to grab this guy. Just all he had to do was grab him and teleport to this extra dimensional plane, and then let go of him and teleport back to the next round. He had to survive one round of combat with this guy, and the guy couldn't get back. So teleporting them someplace else is a very nice way of dealing with them as well, providing they fail their savings throw. That's the thing. Teleporting them someplace deadly is even better. Like, in my son's case, it was the elemental plane of fire. My contention is teleportation can be a very useful weapon when dealing with spellcasters. Any spell you can cast to impede a caster will help. Like blindness, whole person, curses, Entangle, darkness. Darkness is good because if he can't see who to cast on. And anything like that works. But non-casters can also be effective with darts tipped with drugs, knockout or poison kind of thing. And hang on. Sorry, lost my place. Smoke, dust, ropes, and lassos. Anything you can think of to impede a spellcaster's casting ability will neutralize him. And most spellcasters require concentration to cast. That's a foregone conclusion. Any attacks, melee or missile, should be timed while the caster is in the middle of casting his spell. Now, this is very effective if you use the initiative. Watch my video on initiatives. You'll see what I'm talking about. While he's casting, if you smack him with your sword, there's a good chance he's going to lose a spell. Disrupting a spell not only robs the caster of this spell, but it also tends to frustrate and anger him. And angry people make mistakes. I once saw a player. Now this is an actual story. This actually happened. A player who was up on the hill. He's using a bow very effectively. The wizard on the opposing side teleported away, and he said, "Oh crap!" So he's looking for another target. On his next shot, he fumbled and his bowstring broke. So he used, basically, after he figured this out, he went to hide, and as he turned around, he noticed that the bad guy wizard was like right there, going to hit him with a big bad spell. So the next round, in order to stop this enemy wizard that from killing him, he started using this bow and just slapping the shit out of him. Just pat, 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 pat. This turned out to be quite effective because it did no damage, but it was very, very painful. If you've ever been slapped with a stick, a switch, for example, when you were a kid, or in this case, a thick piece of wood smacking them, yeah, that's no damage, but very, very painful. And it distracted the wizard, excuse me, long enough so that other people could get up there and help him. And he pulled it out of his ass, but you know what? It saved his life. And you have to do things like that in the game. You have to be able to think on your feet. This guy was able to distract the wizard long enough to where the wizard couldn't cast any spells. And then once the rest of the group got up there, they were able to hack this guy dead. But my contention is, pain is a really great diversion. Any way you can distract that guy from using a spell to kill you is a good way. I'm just saying. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.